Being alone is not my favorite, but I am embracing it. I'm accepting it. I'm owning it right now. And there are a lot of things that I wish were different, but the way my life is set up, it's very difficult to date because not everybody is into the van lifers.
Welcome to the Modern Nomad Podcast. If you question your current reality and want to escape the 9-to-5 grind, then this is the show for you. And now your host, me.
What is up, and welcome back to the Modern Nomad Podcast. I am your host, Kyle Kennedy, and today we're doing it differently. So we have not an interview, but a Q&A session. So what I had everyone do from my Instagram, if you're following me there, you had the opportunity to ask a question that would be featured on the podcast. So I have several questions here that I'm going to choose from, and we're going to be talking about those. And mainly, they are all van life related. They don't have to be in the future. So if you want to follow me and ask some questions, it's currently kyles.vanlife on Instagram. So we're going to go ahead, jump into a few questions. There were a lot of really good ones, a lot of them about lifestyle changes, being alone. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into that one. So we have our first question here from a friend of mine, Carrie. She says, tell us about your routine. Is it the same every day? How do you find a rhythm? So this is the number one thing about van lifing that kind of like struck me to my core. Basically, I am so used to being a person of routine. So if you've been following me for a while, you know that I owned a gym for 10 years, meaning I was up at like 4 a.m. at work by 5, worked until 8. I had a schedule. So everything was methodically planned out, made sure that everything worked, ran smoothly. The gym was good. My personal health was good. My relationships were good. And I was doing everything by the book. As soon as I moved into the van, it all went out of the window. So basically, when I did this, I would wake up whenever I wanted. I would eat breakfast whenever I wanted. Sometimes, like today, I ate breakfast at 10 o'clock in the morning, which is super late. But what I did when I woke up, I just did whatever I wanted because it's Monday. It's my day off. I'm not working today. So it makes it a lot more relaxed. But routine in van life, if you're traveling, like let's say when I went to Colorado, I had absolutely no routine. I would just wake up whenever I wanted to. I did whatever I wanted to. I always made sure I went to the gym. Like I have checklists throughout the day that I want to get done. But for the most part, it doesn't matter when they get done. As long as they get done, sometimes some things don't get done during the day. So I end up pushing it to the next day. And I always try to get it done within a day or two. But sometimes things just don't go as planned in the routine of van life. It's really a fun occasion, but I do thrive in routine. So that's something like right now when I'm actually having a job, I'm working in a city right now. I have to be to work at 9 in the morning. I get off at 5. Finding that routine was actually really tough for me because I'm used to working out in the middle of the day. I'm used to eating my meals throughout a certain times of the day. And now I have to wake up super early. The gym is packed early in the morning. I absolutely hate it. Absolutely hate when I go to the gym in the morning. And I hate it even worse when I go to the gym in the evening times because it's even more packed. And now my food routine, I eat whenever I get a chance to, which I used to talk to all my clients back in the day, like you can set aside time to do this. But for me, I actually enjoy what I do at work. So I'm not even thinking about it. I'm not thinking about when I'm going to eat or what I'm going to eat. I'm literally just working my butt off, trying to have some fun and do really cool things. So the routine is starting to get there. I've only been working there for a few months now, and it is very interesting because I'm not used to this. I don't make my own schedule, which it's a very relaxed job. Dave is really cool. If I want to go eat, I'm just like, yo, I'm going to go to the van, grab a couple bites to eat or whatever it is. It is different. My routine is different every single day, but I do have a routine. It's just slightly different. As long as I have the checklist and I knock it out, I'm pretty good. And it's really not that difficult. I think a lot of people that thrive in routine, you can still have it in a van. You just have to do it a little bit differently because you may not be in the same spot. You don't know where you're going to go, where you're going to sleep for the night. It's just find a routine that works for you. What I do, it works for me, and I'm thriving right now. So it's good. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next question. So what have you learned about yourself since embracing your new lifestyle? This question comes from Cameron James Bailey. This is one of my good friends from back home. Cam, I love you. I miss you. And we're going to be talking about that right now because there are a lot of things in the lifestyle that I have embraced, and there's a lot of things in the lifestyle that I actually am not a fan of. One of the things I'm not a fan of is the fact that I don't have friends and family with me here. I've got some friends, but I don't get to hang out with them as much because they have kids and families of their own. So a lot of my friends that are actually van lifers parted ways a couple months ago, and I'm the only one left here. That's one thing that I don't like about van life is kind of like being alone a lot. I'm used to it, but if I were back home in Tulsa, I had the option of hanging out with people if I wanted to. Out here, it's like, who do I call? What do I do? Is there actually someone out here that I can hang out with? It's very different. But things that I've embraced, the freedom and flexibility to do whatever I want whenever I want. I'm not tied to a location. I enjoy the fact that, like, if I just am not feeling it, like if I'm not feeling San Diego one day, I can pick up and leave and go wherever I want to and do whatever I want to. Like I can go to the mountains, I can go to the beach, I can go anywhere, I can go visit my family. It's just a drive away, pretty much, like 1 day, 2 day drive away. It's really not that bad, and I really enjoy that. There's a couple other things that I really enjoy about the lifestyle, mainly minimalism. So I don't have to worry about having a bunch of stuff. The things that I do have, I really thought out buying it. Basically, if you have too much junk and you're going to have a van, you're going to fill this thing up and not have any room for anything else. So the minimalist lifestyle, I already started this back in Tulsa. I had a 400 square foot loft apartment. It was my favorite place I ever lived. I lived there for like 5 years, and it was incredible. 400 square feet. I had a bed. It was a studio. So I had a bed. I had my kitchen. I had my bathroom. I had TVs and a little office area. It was perfect for me. And then I took it another step further and bought and built a van. I still have a shower, a kitchen, a bed. I have everything. I have a projector for a movie TV now. And like, it's super easy. I don't have to worry about having and collecting a bunch of junk. It's a funny thing. Like, my parents asked me, they're a little bit older, and they were like, well, when we die, what do you want? And I'm like, I don't know. They're like, do you want photos? Do you want this? I'm like, give it to my sister. My sister hoards everything. She collects everything. And if I ever want to see a picture, I'm just going to go to her house and look through the photos. Like, it's so much easier. I can use my sister's house as a storage shed almost, but I really don't, I'm not attached to anything that's like physical. There's absolutely nothing in this world that I can do without. There are things that I love to have, but there's nothing that I can do without. Like, if you're not ready to be a minimalist in this lifestyle, you're not going to have fun doing it because you're going to be feeling like you don't have enough space. You need a bigger vehicle. Maybe you should buy an RV. It's really, it's really not for you if you're not a minimalist. There's very minimal things that you can bring, and that's the reason why it's called minimalism. Aside from minimalism, the cool thing that I like about this as well is creating your own path. So financially, I have a business of my own, like building, but I also have social media, and it gives you the freedom and flexibility to figure out wherever you want to work, really. So I chose to work at a shop for this year because I, one, wanted to learn more about building vans. Two, I wanted to hang out with some really cool people in San Diego. And three, it's just a really cool thing to be doing, like hanging out here, doing what I'm passionate about. And whenever I'm ready, like I said, in like the first part, is I can pick up and leave whenever I want to. And I love that about the lifestyle. Like, the nomadic lifestyle gives you so many options, whether it's freedom of like location independence or it is financial stability. It's cheap. Like, my bills are probably $1,000 a month, and I get to collect everything else, and I don't have to buy a bunch of stuff. So the money just keeps collecting and collecting and collecting until I buy a $3,000 camera that I really wanted and I really needed it. But I did my research on it because, you know me, I if I'm going to have it in the van, it has to serve a purpose. And this camera I saw as an investment because it's making content, it's going to make money off of it. There's so many benefits to everything that I buy. Basically, in this van, if I'm buying it, it's going to be an investment rather than a loss of money and just something that I wanted. Other than food, I eat the heck out of that food, and it's expensive out in California. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm getting a little bit sweaty in here because it is the middle of the day. My fans are off in the van, and I'm filming this podcast for you all. So I hope I don't get dehydrated. If I do, just hit that Venmo, Kyle's Van Life, so I can get some hydration supplements. All right, we're going to move on to another question. So this is kind of like a two-part question because two people asked this slightly in a different way. We have No Limit Van Life, and they asked, for how long do you see yourself living in a van? This is a super easy question for me to answer. It's to be determined, basically. I have a vision for another van that I'm going to be building out next year. I'm going to build it out in the way that I actually now know that it needs to be built out to suit me. Because when I first built this van, I had never seen a van in my entire life. I built it off of what I saw on Instagram or YouTube and was like, I need that. I need this. I like that. And I also didn't plan on living in this van full time. This was supposed to be something that was going to be weekends, long week trips, something that was pretty much just for fun. But then I said, screw it, let's go full time. And now that I know what I need after living in this for the past like year almost, there's so many things that need to change. Like I need a different place for a shower. I don't need a full shower, but I do want a shower, maybe an outdoor shower, pop-up shower. The toilet needs to be placed somewhere, which I can do that in this van. I want my sink to be flipped around so I don't get my bed wet. There's a bunch of different things, just small things that I want to change that are going to go into a much nicer van. And that van is going to be a huge investment as well. I'm going to keep it for a long time. It doesn't matter if I'm living in it, but I'm going to keep it. So my short answer for you is 2 to 3 years in a van full time. After that, we're going to get this next question. In 5 years, what do you want your life to look like? Long-term vision. This one comes from Kyle J. And well, after 5 years, my goal, like I said, is about 2 to 3 years full time in a van. The next few years, I would want it part-time. I want to purchase land somewhere. That was the point of me doing van life, was to find out where I wanted to be for the rest of my life. And how do I do that? I pretty much need to go out, see the world, see the areas that I love. Like I love San Diego, but there's absolutely no way that I would ever buy land out here because it's so expensive and it is a ridiculous area. It's very overpopulated. Now, Crested Butte, Colorado, beautiful place. I hate snow. So there's benefits to certain things like being out there. Summertime, it's like 75, 80 during the day, 40 at night. Perfect weather for living in a van. But if I were to buy land, I'm not going to be living in my van on the land. I'm going to purchase a bunch of shipping containers. So I'm the typical van lifer. I want to live in a little homestead. I want a shipping container home. I already drew it out. I designed the entire structure, and I think it's going to be very cool. So within the next 3 years, purchase the land, get the property like set up, ready for the actual build out itself. And then hopefully within the next like 5 to 6 years, have that property built up, living in it full time with a van. Like I talked about Crested Butte a second ago. My ideal vision would be more mountains. Even though I love beaches, I absolutely love it. I would love to live in the mountains during the summertime when it is very nice weather because I love mountain biking. I like hiking. I like doing all of those things. But then during the wintertime, I can Airbnb it out because that's a very popular ski town, make a lot of money off of the property. It's going to be very modern, very nice. It'll house a lot of people. And it's an investment. Like I said, everything that I want to do is an investment. So that would be an Airbnb property during the winter. During the summer, I would use the van that I'm going to be currently building out next year as my basically winter rig and go back to San Diego or hit the beaches, go somewhere where it's going to be a little bit warmer, go surfing, maybe go to Hawaii, not in the van, obviously, but go to Hawaii during the winter times, get away from the cold. I do everything in my power possible to stay away from snow. I will enjoy it for like a day or two, but then I'm over it. I want to drive around. I want to go do things. And snow just makes me feel like a homebody and that I'm stuck. I've never been skiing or snowboarding, which is sad. I need to. Maybe I'll change my entire perspective about snow, but that's the goal there. So about 3 years in the van. After about 5, I'll be having that property built up and ready to go. So thank you, Kyle and No Limit Van Life for that one. The next one, what is the hardest thing about doing van life alone? So this one comes from Carter Boynton, which Carter is another van builder, Bonita Vans. You guys need to check him out. So doing van life alone, this is honestly the hardest part about van life for myself. I thought like living back in Tulsa, like there was a lot of times when you're alone, being a single man. I didn't date for 4 years and then I was in a very terrible relationship, got out of that, didn't date for about like the past 2 years. And I thought that like being alone, I didn't really go out and party or hang out with a lot of people. I thought being alone was cool. But like I said earlier, you had the option because I had my family. I could go hang out with them, or I had friends I could call up if I wanted to do something, see what they're doing. But van life alone, I've noticed like I'm stationary in San Diego at the moment. I know some people, but the majority of them have family or they're married and they just don't have the time to hang out with their single friends every several days, you know? The hardest part about that is I find myself doing a lot of things by myself, which you don't really understand who you are until you hang out with yourself. And I have done that in the past, like years of just solitude, being alone. I'll hang out with friends every now and then, but I preferred to be alone. Now I've been at the point where I've been alone in the van for 7, 8 months, like off and on with friends, hanging out and all that. But it's not taking a toll on me, but I realize every time when I get off work, I find myself staying in my van. I don't go out and do anything because I've done a lot in San Diego and it's like the city's kind of old to me now and I'm just going to stay home. So I'm staying in the van. I'm playing video games. I'm editing videos. I'm working really hard, which may be a very good opportunity for me to get ahead in life just by working really hard. And I appreciate the alone time for that, but it would be nice like to meet a woman and hang out with her and possibly go travel with her. But in all reality, it's like that's not the time at the moment. So being alone is not my favorite, but I am embracing it. I'm accepting it. I'm owning it right now. And there are a lot of things that I wish were different, but the way my life is set up, it's very difficult to date because not everybody is into the van lifers. So if I let's say I'm on dating apps. If I swipe right, left, and I hide everything about the van life, as soon as they meet me, they're gonna be like, "Oh, you live in a vehicle." Like, not everybody thinks it's cool. Like, if you're watching this, you probably think it's cool, or you just really think I'm cool because you're here, especially this far into the podcast. But not everybody thinks it's cool. Like, a lot of people think it's gross, or they call you homeless. Like, I'm not homeless. I don't have a structure that is bolted to the floor on the earth doesn't mean I'm homeless. I have a home, I have a bed, I have a sink, I have a refrigerator, I have a everything, I have a shower. It's a home, it's a house. So it's not homeless. But people think that it is. So that makes it hard to like if dating wasn't even hard enough, let's just put it this way. Being a man is very lonely in general. When you add some things that are not the status quo, things that are not normal, it drops the rate in the percentage of women that are available to you. So you could be the most attractive person in the world, but you could be living in a van and all those women that want certain things, more stability, more everything, they're not going to go after you. So there's a lot that goes into it. Dating in van life is probably the worst thing possible, especially since like the people that I've talked to, like the women that I've talked to, like possibly love interests, you may hang out with them for like a day or two or a week and then they're gone and then you keep talking, but you could be having this long distance relationship that you have no idea when you're going to see them next. So that makes it even harder when you're trying to date people within the van life space. Like you could be 2,000 miles away from them and trying to talk to them. So, and I've noticed that's kind of the case. Everybody that like I've chatted with over the last couple of years that are in van life space, they're in like Colorado, or they're in the Northeast, or they're in the Northwest, and I'm in the Southwest, and I really can't talk to them. Or when I was in the Midwest, there was nobody out there that was a van lifer, and everybody that like saw my van, they're like, "Oh, this is so cool," but I wasn't living in it yet, so they were like, "This is really cool for traveling," and blah blah blah. But now I live in it, so it drops my ratio of women that are available to me. But I do know that one day there will be someone who will be interested in this, see my vision, see how hard I work for it, and really want to pursue something with me, which I'm looking for that. I'm not actively looking for that. I am allowing it to happen though. So there's that little rant about being alone. It kind of sucks. It's kind of fun, more so on the suck side. All right, so we're going to get into another question. This is going to be our third, or not our third. This is going to be our last question. This one comes from my buddy Travis Wild, Travie Wild on Instagram. He said, "We talked about your past. What have you learned by being around so many belief systems?" So Travis is somebody who I have sat down multiple times with, had a beer with, by ourselves, just chatting, getting real deep into life, and basically we've come to kind of like the place in life where we were sharing about our past. And like, I come from a Christian background. My parents didn't raise me Christian. I found God. I accepted Christ, and I really pursued it. Like, I was a youth pastor, a worship leader for a long time. Travis has some of those things going on with him as well, so we related a lot and we're very close. Like, when he's in town, we always hang out. And the the thing about van life is people are coming from all over. They're different lifestyles. Like, you got people from the Northwest, the East, we've got people from the West, the Mid, we've got different countries. And one thing that I realize is that you can have these conversations with them and they're accepting to ideas. So I feel like people that are actually in vans or travel nomadic lifestyle, they're more open to hearing what you have to say about yourself, about your past, about things. Like, if I try to bring up Christ, like, I've brought up my Christian faith to multiple of my friends, including like Nikita and Sarah, and they know everything about that. They're accepting to listen to it. Are they open to accepting? Not necessarily accepting my beliefs, but they're open and accepting to hear them because I hear them out. And that's one of the beautiful things. Like, social media and all these things, they actually make you think that everybody's so divided. They don't even want to hear anything about anybody else. They don't care that's their way or the highway. The left hates the right. Christians hate these people. Those people hate these people. And that's really not it. If you actually go out into the real world, like right now, I'm meeting so many different people, and you hear what they want to say, and then they allow you to speak what you want to say. And it's crazy because it's not about meeting in the middle. It's about hearing people out and hearing new ideas. And I think that was like the most incredible part about this was like, when I bring things up with, like, let's say Travis, with social media, they want you to be scared to share your faith, or they want you to be scared to share certain things if it doesn't meet a certain idea. And I have found that, like, with Travis, with Nikita, it is okay to talk to these people about things that they may not have in common with you, but you're actually able to have a good conversation. It's not an argument. It's a good conversation. So van lifers and all the people that I've met in the past like year, they're open and they're willing to hear, they're willing to accept, and they're just friendly people. Like, I have never met a more friendly people than the people I have in the past year. Like, all over, everywhere that I've been, people in van life, people in the nomadic lifestyle, whatever they do, they're all just good people. Like, I have not met anyone that I don't like. There are a few people that are slightly creepy, but they're still good people and they're fun to hang out with, and they do things differently. Like, I'm not a hippie whatsoever. Like, I've met a ton of hippies that live in vans or buses and all these things, and they're the coolest people ever. They're accepting, they're loving. And then I've met some people that are just like stone cold killers, is what I would call them, like some military people, but they're super cool. They're accepting, and everybody hangs out. It's like a melting pot of cultures, of religions, of peoples, of races, and it's amazing. So that is kind of my take on it. And I hope you guys, if you are in the van life space, feel that way, or the nomadic lifestyle space. If you've ever met people that aren't that way, you can kind of get like put off about a certain people. And I would say van life people are the most absolutely incredible people. Even the ones that are like rich, people that are living in $300,000-$400,000 rigs, people that are living in $5,000 rigs, they come together, they hang out. There's a shared interest, which means they have something in common and they can talk, which leads to other conversations, which leads to other conversations. And you end up with a lifelong friend. It doesn't matter about them, their background, it doesn't matter. And that's the most beautiful thing that I could even think about when it comes to van life. So I'm going to go ahead and close it out right there, because it's probably 95 to 100 degrees in my van, but it's only 80 outside. And I don't know if you can tell, I'm probably sweating, but I really appreciate you guys. If you're not liking and subscribing to these podcasts, what are you doing? Just hit that subscribe button. And also, we are now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you want to hear this instead of listening to it, you can now join those. There's going to be a link in the description where you guys can actually check that out. I hope you guys have a good time with these Q&As. And if you want to be part of the next Q&A, follow my Instagram, kyles.vanlife. That way you can actually ask the questions that will be on the next Q&A podcast. I'll probably do one about every 4 to 5 interviews and then a Q&A. There's also going to be a couple of other surprises along the way. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will see you all in the next episode.